My fiancée canceled our wedding 3 times while I covered every cost. Then I uncovered the truth, and what I did next turned her perfect life into chaos. I, a 32-year-old male, met Vicky, a 30-year-old female, during the 2016 Super Bowl party at my buddy Dave's place. She showed up with Dave's girlfriend, wearing a Patriots jersey despite not knowing a single player's name. I was the guy who called her out on it. "So, who's your favorite Patriots player?" I asked, leaning against the kitchen counter. All of them," she replied. "You don't know a single player's name, do you? Does it matter?" I pressed. "The jersey looks cute on me," she said. She wasn't wrong about that. Somehow that exchange turned into her number in my phone and a first date that weekend. She was the classic hot yoga instructor, all Zen vibes and Instagram-worthy flexibility. I was pulling 60-hour weeks as a network security consultant for a financial tech startup. She loved that I had a real career ambition. I loved that she was hot, flexible, and impressed my friends. Let's be honest, at 27, I wasn't exactly searching for deep compatibility metrics. My dating app criteria basically boiled down to attractive and doesn't seem psychotic. Vicky cleared that very low bar with room to spare. We dated for a year before moving in together. I bought her a 1.5-carat diamond ring, costing 3 months' salary I'd saved by eating ramen lunches, and proposed at Morello's, this upscale Italian place downtown where a plate of pasta costs more than my first car payment. She cried, said yes, and posted it immediately on Instagram. Looking back, she had red flags I willfully ignored. Her longest job lasted 14 months. Her credit score was abysmal. She was 29, and her parents still paid her cell phone bill, car insurance, and slipped her cash whenever she visited. Meanwhile, I was maxing out my $401k and had already put a down payment on an investment property I was renting out. By 28, I had a 6-figure income, a decent stock portfolio, and a side consulting gig that brought in another $20,000 annually. The sex was great. She looked amazing on my arm at company events, and I'd convinced myself that her free spirit balanced out my structured approach to life. Classic sucker mistake. The first wedding was set for June 2019 at a vineyard an hour outside the city. I dropped $15,000 in non-refundable deposits. 3 months before the date, Vicky came home from brunch with her sister, Kelly. I was on the couch watching the NBA playoffs. "Paul, I've been thinking about the wedding timeline," she said, sitting down next to me. "Work is insane right now with this new hot yoga Pilates fusion certification, and I'm not sure June is realistic anymore." I muted the game. "What exactly does that mean?" I asked. "I think we should postpone, just until fall when things calm down." Work was insane? She taught 4 yoga classes a week at $25 per class. I was pulling in 6 figures but still driving my 10-year-old car to save for our future. But like an idiot, I nodded and said we could postpone. That night, I calculated exactly how much money I had just lit on fire: $23,000 in venue deposits, photography deposits, catering minimums, and save-the-date cards. When I mentioned this figure to Vicky, she shrugged and said, "It's just money, babe. We'll make more." Easy to say when you're not the one making it. What Vicky didn't mention was that the Yoga Pilates Fusion certification required just 2 weekends of actual class time, hardly an overwhelming schedule, or that her sister Kelly had just booked a 3-week vacation to Thailand that overlapped with our wedding date, and Vicky couldn't bear to get married without her. I found this out later from Dave's girlfriend, who had overheard them planning Kelly's trip at brunch. The second attempt was planned for May 2020. We downsized to a hotel ballroom package that was less expensive, but still required a $12,000 deposit. 4 months before the date, Vicky's sister Kelly broke up with her boyfriend of 8 months. Suddenly, Vicky couldn't possibly get married when Kelly was going through such trauma. Vicky dropped this bomb while I was cleaning my golf clubs in the garage. She just walked in, leaned against my workbench, and sighed dramatically. "Kelly and Mike broke up. She's completely devastated," she said. "I kept cleaning my 7-iron. That sucks. I never liked that guy anyway," I replied. "Paul, I don't think I can get married while Kelly's heartbroken. She's my maid of honor. It wouldn't be right." I put down the club. "Are you serious? We're canceling again because your sister's dating life is a train wreck?" "It's not about that. It's about supporting family during a crisis," she insisted. The next day, I called Kelly directly, supposedly to express condolences. She sounded completely fine. "Yeah, it's a bummer, but honestly, we weren't working. I told Vicky not to change your wedding plans." "That's ridiculous. I'm dating again already," she said. That night, I confronted Vicky. "Kelly says she's fine with us keeping the wedding date. Actually said she's already dating someone else." Vicky's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Well, I know my sister better than you do. She's devastated inside. She's just putting on a brave face. Why did you call her anyway? Don't you trust me?" I dropped it. Canceled everything again. My friends were already booked for Vegas, another expensive mess. After the second cancellation, my best friend Sam pulled me aside during our Thursday poker night. We were on his deck, cigars in hand, while the other guys were inside arguing about the blinds. "Dude, you realize she's never going to marry you, right? This is a pattern," he said. I brushed it off, but his words stuck with me. Here's the thing about being a man engaged to an Instagram-obsessed yoga instructor. Society expects you to shut up and be grateful. After all, you landed a hot chick who can put her ankles behind her head. What right do you have to complain? Every time I'd express frustration to married colleagues, they'd roll their eyes. "Marriage is expensive, man. Get used to it. Happy wife, happy life," they'd say, dead behind the eyes. They didn't get it. This wasn't about the money. It was about respect, about being treated like an equal partner instead of an ATM with benefits. I started noticing this underlying pattern. Vicky would set these arbitrary relationship milestones, moving in together, getting engaged, planning a wedding. But whenever we approached actually completing one, she'd manufacture a crisis. She wanted the social status of each milestone without the commitment. The engagement ring was a perfect example. When we were out with her friends or at yoga events, that ring was front and center, prominently displayed in every photo. But at home, it lived in her drawer most of the time, only worn when convenient for her image. After the second cancellation, I started tracking our finances more rigorously. I discovered Vicky had opened 3 store credit cards under our shared address and maxed all of them out. She'd been intercepting the bills so I wouldn't see them. When confronted, she insisted they were pre-wedding necessities and that I was being controlling by questioning her spending. I also found she'd been borrowing from our wedding fund for various emergencies, like a last-minute weekend trip to Miami with her yoga friends that she hadn't bothered to tell me about until she was at the airport. I was done being the sucker bankrolling her Instagram lifestyle while she kept moving the commitment goalposts. Time for a change in strategy. Fast forward to May 2022, wedding attempt number 3 was scheduled for early June at a beachside resort 2 hours away. Smaller guest list, but still a $30,000 affair when all was said and done. I'd insisted on wedding insurance this time. Fool me twice after all. A few weeks before Vicky's ultimate cancellation, I started noticing odd patterns. Her advanced yoga teacher training sessions on Thursday evenings and Saturday mornings never seemed to result in any new techniques or knowledge. She'd become protective of her phone, angling the screen away, taking calls in the bathroom. Sex had become less frequent. Then came the text from Ellie, one of Vicky's friends from her hot yoga certification course. We'd met maybe 3 times at group gatherings. "Paul, can we meet? It's important, just us," she wrote. We met at the Starbucks near my office building. Ellie looked nervous as hell, kept checking the door like Vicky might burst in wielding a yoga mat as a weapon. I don't know how to say this, but Vicky's been seeing someone. A guy named Jordan from Equinox downtown. "It's been going on for at least 4 months, she said. My stomach dropped, but some part of me wasn't even surprised. "How do you know?" I asked. "She thinks I'm covering for her when she says she's at advanced teacher training on Thursdays. She's with him. I've seen them together twice at that wine bar on 7th, she explained. "I wouldn't normally get involved, but you seem like a decent guy. And I found out something else. He's married, 2 kids. His wife thinks he's working late when he's with Vicky." I thanked Ellie, told her I'd handle it, went back to my office, closed the door, and stared at my computer screen for an hour. I'm not proud of what I did next, but I'd funded 3 almost weddings and 5 years of her half-assed career attempts. 3 years earlier, I'd helped Vicky set up a Gmail account for her future wellness coaching business that never materialized beyond a logo she paid someone $400 to design. On a hunch, I tried her standard password, her cat's name, Zoe, plus her birth year. Bingo. After some digging, I found it, hundreds of texts backed up from her phone, conversations with JFit that made it crystal clear what was happening. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. V will think I'm at a client meeting, LOL," one read. "Miss your body. Thursday can't come fast enough." There were selfies of them together at a hotel bar, explicit messages that made me sick to my stomach, hotel receipts for afternoon yoga workshops, and planning for meetups while I was on business trips to Chicago and Boston. The whole affair playbook, executed with the most basic lack of creativity imaginable. The stupidest part? She'd actually saved their texting history to her Google Drive, including explicit photos that I definitely didn't need to see. This woman, who could barely remember to charge her phone, had meticulously created a digital scrapbook of her affair. If you're going to cheat, at least have the technical savvy to cover your tracks. I downloaded everything, maintaining the metadata and timestamps, created a neat little digital folder of evidence, and backed it up to my secure cloud storage. Then I started digging on Jordan. LinkedIn showed Jordan Michaels, personal trainer at Equinox downtown, former supplement sales rep, associate's degree in exercise science from the community college. Facebook revealed Jordan Michaels, married to Emily Michaels, nee Taylor, elementary school teacher. 2 kids, ages 6 and 4, living in a nice suburban development 30 minutes from the city. Their whole life was documented on social media. Family vacations to Disney, backyard barbecues, school plays. I found Emily's email through the school's parent-teacher contact directory. Simple as that. Jordan's social media was a joke. This guy was posting family man content with his wife and kids on weekends, motivational fitness garbage during weekdays, and secretly messaging my fiancée about how he was going to leave his family for her. Honestly, they deserved each other, but his wife and kids didn't deserve the collateral damage. Here's the thing about Vicky that most people missed. She was deeply predictable. She operated on patterns, the same excuses, the same manipulative tactics, the same cycle of enthusiasm and abandonment, with everything from jobs to hobbies to relationships. I knew she was going to cancel wedding number 3. The signs were all there, suddenly questioning the venue choice, bringing up minor disagreements from years ago, picking fights about the honeymoon destination we'd already booked. The Jordan affair just confirmed what I already suspected. That Friday, I confirmed plans with my buddies Sam and Carlos for a 2-week trip to Puerto Rico. We'd been talking about a guy's trip for ages, and I'd found dirt cheap flights through Sam's cousin, who worked for the airline. Sam had family in San Juan. His grandparents had a beach house they rarely used, and his cousins knew every non-touristy spot worth visiting. I transferred another $10,000 to my escape fund account and made sure my passport was current. The escape fund hadn't started as an escape fund. After the first canceled wedding, I'd opened a separate account at a different bank as a precaution, just a small emergency fund in case Vicky's spending habits ever put our primary accounts at risk. After the second cancellation, it became a more deliberate backup plan. I'd been making monthly transfers, labeled as investment portfolio, that Vicky never questioned because financial matters bored her. In 3 years, it had grown to nearly $40,000, not enough to retire on, but certainly enough to disappear for a while if needed. I'd also started quietly moving my important documents to a small fireproof safe at my office: passport, birth certificate, car title, investment records. Not because I was planning to leave yet, but because I'd noticed Vicky's tendency to misplace things when she was upset with me. That Saturday, Vicky suggested we go to Morello's, where I'd proposed. The symmetry wasn't lost on me. I already knew exactly what was coming. The restaurant was packed, but we got our table by the window. Vicky ordered her usual fettuccine. She pushed her pasta around the plate, looking up with those practiced puppy dog eyes. "Paul, sweetie, about the wedding. I've been thinking a lot. I just need more time. It's not that I don't want to marry you, but I'm not sure I'm in the right headspace right now," she said. Standard Vicky script. Word for word what I'd expected. I fought back a laugh. "With my yoga business potentially expanding and all the stress of wedding planning, maybe we should postpone until things settle down," she continued. I took another bite, smiled calmly. "Okay, Vicky, take all the time you need." The relief on her face was almost comical. She immediately launched into her rehearsed speech about working on herself and making sure we're really ready and how this was the mature decision. I nodded along. What she didn't know was that I'd already packed a suitcase, hidden in my car trunk. The Puerto Rico tickets were purchased, my financial accounts were separated, my workplace knew I'd be working remotely for a while. Vicky spent the entire drive home texting someone, presumably Jordan, with a small smile playing at her lips. She thought she'd managed the situation perfectly, kept her backup plan, me, on the hook, while pursuing her upgrade option, Jordan. 3 years of her life had taught her that I was a pushover who would just accept whatever she decided. Sunday morning, I was up at 5 a.m. Vicky was still asleep, dead to the world after taking an Ambien. I'd already packed my essentials and staged them over the previous week: passport, laptop, external hard drives, important documents. The note I left was brief, written on the custom stationery she'd ordered for our wedding thank you cards. "Vicky, you need more time? You've got it. Forever. I'm done. Wedding's off for good. So are we. I'll get the rest of my stuff later. Paul." I left it on her pillow, took my keys off the shared hook by the door, and walked out of our apartment. The lease, in my name thankfully, was ending in 2 months. Before I walked out for good, I remembered one last thing. I opened her drawer and pulled out the 1.5-carat engagement ring, the one that cost me 3 months' salary, the one she'd take selfies with but conveniently leave in her drawer more often than wear it. I wasn't about to leave a $12,000 ring behind for her to pawn for a new yoga certification, or whatever she'd pivot to next. First stop was the bank to wire most of my main account to the escape fund, leaving just enough to cover the remaining rent and utilities. Then to Sam's place, where he helped me load my pre-packed essentials into his garage. Holy, you're actually doing it, he said, looking impressed as we tetrasaid my boxes. Should have done it years ago, I replied, checking the time. Our flight was at 2 p.m. Next stop, my parents. Dad had been telling me to dump Vicky since cancellation 1. He was a retired financial advisor who'd seen this exact scenario play out with clients before. She's using you as a financial safety net while she explores options, son, he'd said last Christmas. Classic hedging strategy. Mom tried to be supportive but couldn't hide her relief when I told them it was over. Oh, honey, I'm sorry, she said, hugging me tightly. But I'm also not sorry at all. That girl was never right for you. Last move before takeoff, I composed an email to Emily Michaels with all the screenshots between Vicky and Jordan. I hit send, then methodically blocked Vicky on everything. Phone, email, all social media platforms. Blocked Kelly, Vicky's parents, Joyce and Richard, and their entire social circle. Final step, I texted my landlord that I wouldn't be renewing the lease but would continue paying rent until it ended in August. He was a decent guy who'd always liked me. Then I walked out the door without looking back. San Juan, Puerto Rico hit me like a warm, humid embrace. Our flight landed in the early evening, and by nightfall, Sam, Carlos, and I were drinking rum on the patio of Sam's grandparents' beach house, listening to the waves crash nearby. The house wasn't fancy, but it had a killer location in Ocean Park, just steps from the beach. Sam's grandfather had bequeathed Sam a key and instructions to use it whenever. Just don't burn it down. Carlos had already lined up our entire first week. Deep-sea fishing with one of Sam's cousins who had a boat, atving in the mountains, a day trip to Culebra for the famous flamenco beach. Sam was in charge of food and nightlife, cooked Puerto Rican food that put restaurants to shame. For the first time in years, I felt the tension drain from my shoulders. No Vicky drama, no wedding planning spreadsheets, no walking on eggshells around her perpetual career crisis, just sun, sand, and a cold drink with actual friends who had my back. 5 days in, I was sitting on the beach when Sam wandered over, phone in hand. Dude, he said, scrolling through messages, Vicky is having a complete meltdown. I leaned back in my chair. Tell me. Apparently, she woke up late Sunday, found my note, and initially thought I was just throwing a tantrum. She figured I'd gone to a hotel to sulk and would come crawling back when I calmed down. When she couldn't reach me after a day, she started harassing our mutual friends. Then the nuclear bomb hit. Jordan's wife, Emily, had confronted him with the evidence I'd sent. According to Sam's girlfriend, who heard it from Kelly's roommate, there had been a spectacular showdown at Jordan and Emily's house. Jordan immediately threw Vicky under the bus, claimed she was obsessed with him, that she'd pursued him relentlessly, and that he'd been trying to break it off. Emily had kicked him out anyway. Jordan then blocked Vicky on everything. When Vicky showed up at the Equinox where he worked, he had security escort her out of the building. Vicky's fairy tale came crashing down in 48 hours flat. No fiancé, no boyfriend, no backup plan. Sam showed me her increasingly desperate text messages to him. Where is Paul? This isn't funny anymore. Tell him to answer his phone right now. We need to talk. He took my engagement ring. That's mine. He stole my ring. Sam, Carlos, and I were laughing so hard we nearly fell off our deck chairs. The sheer entitlement was mind-blowing. She genuinely couldn't comprehend that her actions had consequences. Ellie kept me updated through Sam. I didn't want direct contact with anyone from that world. Vicky had been banking on me taking her back again while keeping Jordan as her side piece until he left his wife. When both options evaporated simultaneously, she spiraled. She showed up at Jordan's gym, screaming about how he'd promised to leave his wife. Security had to escort her out. Then she went to my office and tried to convince my admin I was having a mental breakdown and needed her help. My boss had texted, "Your ex showed up, told her you're on extended leave. She seems unstable. Everything okay?" I thanked him, confirmed I was fine, and asked security not to let her in if she returned. I blocked Ellie too, after thanking her through Sam. Clean break, no loose ends. Here's what Sam didn't tell me until weeks later. Vicky had tried to access my laptop at home, password protected, thankfully, attempted to transfer money from our old joint account, which I'd already emptied except for rent money, and even tried to cancel my credit cards by claiming they were stolen. The credit card company called me to confirm, and I promptly removed her as an authorized user on all accounts. She'd also shown up at my parents' house twice, once at midnight. My dad had simply closed the door in her face. The second time, she'd brought her mother, Joyce, as reinforcement. Mom had invited them in for coffee, listened to their demands to know my whereabouts, and calmly replied, "He's a grown man who doesn't want contact with you. I suggest you respect that." Then she showed them out. 2 weeks in Puerto Rico turned into a month. I extended my stay, found a co-working space in San Juan with decent Wi-Fi, and convinced my boss to let me work remotely indefinitely. My productivity was actually up without Vicky's constant drama. I moved from Sam's grandparents' place to a small apartment in Rincon, a laid-back surf town on the West Coast. I learned to surf, got a decent tan, started running on the beach every morning, and slept better than I had in years. According to Sam, the Vicky situation had evolved. She'd been crashing at Kelly's one-bedroom apartment since I hadn't renewed our lease. The sisters were at each other's throats. Within days, Vicky had expected sympathy and support. Kelly expected gratitude and rent money. Kelly caught her trying to use her credit card to buy a plane ticket to Puerto Rico. Sam reported, after a call with his girlfriend, they had a screaming match that the neighbors called the cops on. Vicky's mother, Joyce, started a campaign to bring Paul back. Calling my parents multiple times, she's struggling financially. Joyce told my mom, she can't afford rent on her own. Paul has responsibilities here. My mom, usually the diplomatic one, finally snapped. Vicky is 29 years old, Joyce. Maybe it's time she supported herself instead of relying on my son or you. The lease is paid through August. After that, her housing is her problem. Joyce apparently hung up on her. The crowning absurdity came when Vicky consulted some strip mall lawyer who sent a laughable letter to my parents' house, the only address she had for me, demanding emotional distress compensation, half the value of my car, and spousal support, despite us never having been married. I forwarded it to my cousin Rachel, a no-nonsense corporate attorney in New York, who sent back a response that basically translated to F around and find out. Rachel outlined my documentation of the 3 canceled weddings with dates and lost deposits, Vicky's work history or lack thereof, and her infidelity evidence. She reminded Vicky's lawyer that unmarried partners have no financial obligations to each other beyond shared property, of which we had none in both our names, and that further harassment would result in a restraining order. We never heard from the lawyer again. Vicky's final move was a social media smear campaign, posting vague accusations about betrayal and emotional abandonment, and how men can't handle strong women. A few acquaintances who only heard her side messaged me with concern. Dude, you okay? Heard what happened with Vicky. I sent them a detailed timeline of the 3 canceled weddings and screenshots of the affair evidence. Radio silence after that. Through Sam's girlfriend, I heard that Vicky's yoga studio had let her go after she had a meltdown during a class, bursting into tears while attempting to demonstrate downward dog. She'd apparently been showing up late to classes, looking disheveled, and spending more time talking about her traumatic breakup than actually teaching yoga. Her Instagram following had dropped by 30% after several rambling live sessions where she'd alternated between trashing me and desperately trying to justify her actions. The kicker, Jordan's wife, Emily, had publicly outed both of them in a community Facebook group that many of Vicky's potential yoga clients belonged to. Emily had been surgical, just the facts with date-stamped evidence, but the fallout had been immediate. Vicky could no longer market herself as a spiritual wellness guide when everyone in the yoga community knew she'd been sleeping with a married father of 2. Jordan wasn't doing much better. Equinox had asked him to resign after multiple clients complained about his unprofessional behavior. Emily had filed for divorce with an excellent attorney funded by her parents, and his side business selling fitness supplements had tanked after his adultery became public knowledge. After 2 months in Puerto Rico, Sam flew down again for a long weekend through his cousins. We got connected with a local group, 3 guys who ran a popular surf shop and dive center, and 2 women who worked as tour guides for the luxury resorts. They showed us the real Puerto Rico that tourists never see. Hidden waterfalls, unmarked beaches, family-run restaurants serving the best food I'd ever tasted. Daniela was one of the tour guides, smart as hell with a biology degree, perfect English with that slight accent that makes every word sound better, and the kind of natural beauty that doesn't need filters or makeup. We hit it off immediately. She taught me how to surf properly. I helped her upgrade her business website. The biggest difference between Daniela and Vicky became clear the first time we went out to dinner. When the check came, Daniela reached for her wallet without hesitation. I insisted on paying, but the automatic assumption that I would cover everything was refreshingly absent. I can pay for my own dinner, she said with a smile. I asked you out, remember? She had a point. She had called it a date first. About 3 months into my Puerto Rico escape, Sam posted a group photo on Instagram. Nothing special, just all of us at a beachside bar after a day of surfing. Daniela was next to me, leaning in close, both of us sun-kissed and laughing. I hadn't even thought about it. My social media had been dormant since leaving Vicky. Within an hour, my phone started blowing up with calls from unknown numbers. I ignored them until one left a voicemail. Paul, it's me. Who the F is that in Sam's picture? We need to talk right now. This isn't funny anymore. Call me back. Vicky had obviously been stalking Sam's social media and recognized me in the background. She'd resorted to borrowing phones from friends, co-workers, even strangers at the yoga studio to try to get through my blocks. I finally answered one out of sheer irritation. What do you want, Vicky? Who's that in the picture? Are you cheating on me? The delusion was next level. Vicky, I left you 3 months ago. I took back the engagement ring you didn't deserve. I'm not coming back. There's no us anymore. I'm hanging up now. No, Paul, you can't do this to us. I made one mistake. Those aren't mistakes. They're choices. Choices have consequences. Enjoy yours. I hung up and blocked that number too. When she tried calling from other numbers, I simply didn't pick up. Eventually, she gave up or ran out of people willing to lend her their phones. According to Sam, Vicky had gone nuclear after seeing that photo. She'd created a fake Instagram account to message Daniela directly, sending a rambling manifesto about how I was emotionally damaged and would abandon her too. Daniela had read the first few lines, recognized the crazy, and blocked the account immediately. Your ex seems nice, she said dryly when she told me about it. She's consistent, I'll give her that. The most pathetic part, Vicky had started posting throwback photos of us from years ago, captioning them with revisionist history about our beautiful relationship and how she was waiting for me to come to my senses. She conveniently edited out the part where she'd canceled 3 weddings and been sleeping with a married personal trainer. One aspect of leaving Vicky that I hadn't fully anticipated was the immediate financial upside. Without her constant drain on my resources, my savings rate tripled overnight. No more $200 yoga workshops that never led to actual income, no more investment pieces that were really just designer clothes. She'd wear once for Instagram, no more subsidizing her half of rent when she was between opportunities, which was most months. The funny part, now that I was single, I was actually spending less but enjoying life more. My beachfront apartment in Rincon cost half what we'd been paying in the city. Local food was cheaper and better than the trendy restaurants Vicky insisted on visiting weekly. And Daniela, despite my offers to treat her, insisted on paying her own way most of the time. 6 months later, I'm back in the States now, but not in the same city. I found a great job opportunity in Denver with a 30% salary bump, better benefits, and a hybrid work policy. I'm closer to the mountains, have a downtown loft with no memories attached, and I'm dating Daniela seriously now. She'd been looking to expand her ecotourism business to the States anyway, and Colorado's outdoor adventure scene was the perfect fit. Daniela is everything Vicky wasn't: independent, supportive, honest, and financially responsible. She doesn't expect me to bankroll her life or solve her problems. She doesn't create unnecessary drama just to test my loyalty. The relationship feels like a partnership, not a hostage situation where my wallet is being held for ransom. Sam visited last month. We hiked a 14,000-foot peak, drank local craft beers, and he finally told me something he'd been holding back. Jordan's wife filed for divorce. Turns out Vicky wasn't his first affair. And Vicky, working at Lululemon, still living with Kelly, still telling anyone who will listen that I'm the villain who abandoned her. I just laughed. My only regret is that I wasted 5 years on someone who never intended to commit. But the view from this side of the decision? Crystal clear. Sam also filled me in on the financial fallout for Jordan. Emily's divorce attorney had been ruthless, arguing successfully that Jordan's infidelity and pattern of unprofessional behavior with clients constituted grounds for an uneven asset division. He'd lost the house, half his retirement accounts, and was paying significant child support. Dude's life imploded. Last I heard, he and Vicky tried getting together for real, but it lasted about 3 weeks before they were at each other's throats. Turns out, neither of them enjoyed actually dealing with each other's problems. Shocker. Last weekend, Vicky made her final showdown. Daniela and I flew back to my hometown to visit my parents. I hadn't been back since moving to Denver, and I wanted to introduce Daniela to my family. Mom and Dad instantly loved her. Dad especially appreciated her business acumen and self-sufficiency. We were having coffee in my parents' living room on Sunday morning when the doorbell rang repeatedly. I opened the door to find Vicky on the porch, looking like she'd been rode hard and put away wet. Her roots were showing, her eyes had that manic gleam, and she'd clearly lost weight in an unhealthy way. "Paul," she said, trying for that breathy voice that used to work on me. "I heard you were in town. We need to talk." I stayed in the doorway, blocking her entry. "There's nothing to talk about, Vicky. Please, I've changed. I've been in therapy. I know what I did wrong now." She tried to look past me into the house. "Can I just come in for 5 minutes? Whatever you have to say, you can say right here." She switched to the wounded victim act, complete with glistening eyes. "After everything we've been through, you won't even give me 5 minutes? We've been through 3 canceled weddings and your affair. That about covers it. Paul, please, I made mistakes, but..." Daniela appeared behind me, hand casually resting on my back. "Babe, is everything okay?" Vicky's face contorted as she connected the dots. "You're the one from the beach picture." I felt Daniela tense beside me, but she just smiled. "I'm Daniela, and you must be the ex who can't count to 3 wedding dates." Vicky looked like she'd been slapped. Then the dam broke. Are you kidding me? You bring your Puerto Rican to your parents' house after everything I did for you? I waited for you. I loved you. And you're with this tourism trash? I stepped partially outside, keeping my voice low but firm. That's enough, Vicky. You need to leave now. I'm not going anywhere until you explain yourself. You owe me an explanation. I don't owe you anything. You cheated with a married guy. You stole money from your own sister to try to follow me to Puerto Rico. You had your mommy call my parents because you couldn't pay rent. At what point in that pathetic story did I become the one who owes you something? Vicky's face turned red. You're just mad because I needed time. Not everyone has their life perfectly planned out like you. Some of us are still finding ourselves. I couldn't help but laugh. You're 30 years old. Daniela stepped forward. I run my own business, have a biology degree, and speak 3 languages. What exactly have you accomplished besides getting kicked out of Equinox? Vicky lunged at Daniela, but I stepped between them. That's it. You have 10 seconds to get off this property before I call the cops. Vicky's eyes darted between us, searching for any leverage, any weakness. Finding none, she backed up. This isn't over. She'll get bored with you just like I did, and when she does, don't come crawling back to me. Vicky turned and stomped back to her car, a new-looking Audi that her parents had undoubtedly financed. As she peeled away from the curb, Daniela slipped her hand into mine. So, that's the famous Vicky. She seems stable. We both burst out laughing as we walked back inside to join my parents, who had tactfully stayed in the living room during the confrontation. My dad just raised his coffee mug in a silent toast. Dodged a bullet there, son. I actually did the math recently. Over 7 years, I spent nearly $127,000 on canceled wedding deposits, Vicky's business ventures that went nowhere, covering her share of rent and bills when she was between gigs and other expenses. That's not counting regular relationship costs like dinners out and gifts. Some people need to learn that actions have consequences, and more time sometimes means no more chances. The best revenge isn't just living well.